Lynch Homes at Old Colony. I have a friend who's also in this kind of work who says that the thing about our jobs is that we're always cutting other people's ribbons. And that was never more true than it is today. We're here to celebrate something that's really, the culmination of 2 decades of planning and construction that has transformed this neighborhood. It's something that so many administrators before me have been part of. Billy McGonigal, who is very dear to many of us in this space, was the administrator, and then Kate Bennett. And so from the BHA side, there's been a series of different hands that have touched this, not to mention just about everybody who works at the agency, and I'll get to some of our thank yous in a minute. But the same goes on the Beacon side, the same goes on when it comes to elected officials, and you're going to hear from a number of them. We're going to hear from the building trades. They've had a hand in this, a series of leaders all along the way. But some of the people who have been really constant on this project are the residents. And really, this is a project that came out of the advocacy of the Old Colony residents, including some former Old Colony residents who had risen to powers of great authority. But it really is something that began with community leadership from folks who wanted a great community to raise a family in and had that in terms of the neighborhood of South Boston, but didn't have that in terms of the quality of the housing that we were offering, many decades on here at BHA. And so really, the Old Colony community, Boston Housing Authority, City of Boston, the state of Massachusetts, and the federal government have all worked together to achieve this transformation of this site, like I said, over almost 17 years. We began the master planning process in 2009, broke ground in late 2010, and the early phases of this project helped to get folks back to work at a really hard economic time. It was the Great Recession. And like I said, we're going to hear a little bit later in the program about Building Pathways, which was actually a program created out of the original project labor agreement at this site. So Old Colony has always, all along the way, been a project that's about sort of both and for us. It's about great homes, great jobs, and a really thriving community. It's 100% union labor and BHA kids getting into the trades. So one of the other big things about this transformation is that the streets were changed, the pedestrian walkways, the way that you move through this space was really transformed in order to knit it more into the neighborhood. And so I really want to thank everybody who worked with us on that, including we're joined here today by our Chief of Planning, Kairos Shen, and the Planning Department and the Boston Planning and Development Agency were a big part of supporting us in this idea that, where original public housing concept was to kind of isolate from the neighborhood, this was a project that knit it back together. I also really want to express how one of the most precious things about this site for us is that we didn't just replace all the brick and mortar. We also thought a lot about how to have dynamic community programming at the heart of it. And so the Tierney Learning Center was envisioned as and has become a really core center for the community here in the heart of the development. And that doesn't always happen with these big redevelopments, and it was something that a number of people dreamed into being and then funded into being. And so again, I don't want to steal everybody's thunder, but I just want to acknowledge that that's been a huge part of what we've gotten out of this. To accomplish something like this, you just need so many folks at the table with the same goal, building better housing, great jobs, and investing in our residents. And folks will see around today a board of all the different partners you'll see in the back, and it's kind of overwhelming how many partners have been part of this. This project started as Hope 6, a thing you may have heard, a federal program to fund housing. And to fund housing redevelopment, and that was great for the initial phases, but then that ran out of money. And then the City of Boston and the Boston Housing Authority stepped up with huge investments. And our Chief of Housing, Sheila Dillon, is here, and she's actually been in that role for longer than this project has been happening. So when I said, you're always cutting other people's ribbons, the one exception is if you're Sheila Dillon, you're usually cutting your own ribbons. But just been an incredible partner to us. And then I think of it like these 3 thirds. Like the first third, we had huge federal support to make this happen. That second third, it was really huge city support. And then the third third, the state came in a big way. And all these partners were involved all along the way, but when you think about the kind of like big gap-filling funds, so you're going to hear today from MassHousing, from the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. We'll also have our representative, David Beal, and our Senator Nick Collins come up and speak on behalf of the state. The state has been a huge force for this development as well, and we really could not have made this happen without all three levels of government coming together, and that's what it takes to do something of this magnitude. So thank you to our government partners you're going to hear from. Thank you to our union partners, the Greater Boston Building Trades, the North Atlantic State Regional Council of Carpenters, and crucially, union money through the AFL-CIO Housing Investment Trust, also a critical piece of this development. And then on the BHA side, I'm going to add some more thanks in a little bit, but like I said, every member of our team's been part of this. Joel Wool, Amy Tran, Joe Bamberg, and our whole admissions team. Nancy Otero is here, and Laura Miller. They've done an incredible job getting people in and out, and one of the best things about this development has been the opportunity, especially in the later phases, to have people move from old housing into new housing, and it's just something that we're so proud of. So I am going to say a little bit more about my predecessors later on, but before I give Alvin the mic, I do want to recognize we have the McGonigal family here in the front row. I wish that we had Billy here for this day, but I have a feeling that he knows that we're doing this. And also, again, a huge shout out to my predecessor, Kate Bennett, as well, who really had her hands all over this development throughout its commissioning. So, enough from me for the moment. I want to call up. We really wanted to have this program start with resident leadership. We always, like I said, feel like that's where things start here at the BHA. And so I'd like to have up another person who has had her hands in this the whole time and is really cutting her own ribbon today. And that's Phyllis Corbett, president of our task force here at Old Colony.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for having me. I am honored to be here today. I have lived in Old Colony for more than 50 years and have been involved with Beacon and Boston Housing Authority from the very beginning of the redevelopment process. Now that all 6 phases of the redevelopment are complete, we are delighted to welcome back many longtime residents while also welcoming new neighbors to our community. Old Colony has always been a close-knit neighborhood, and we are proud of the strong relations that exist between residents and Beacon communities. We are grateful for the beautiful neighborhood that has been created for the redevelopment. It has provided quality housing, strengthened our community, and given residents a place they are proud to call home. On behalf of the residents, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to everyone who helped make this vision a reality. Thank you for your commitment to Old Colony and for investing in our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Phyllis. Now I'd like to introduce Congressman Stephen Lynch, who is a champion for all things public housing and all things South Boston, but particularly the A&M Lynch Homes at Old Colony. I'm so glad that he's here today and just genuinely so grateful for his advocacy for Boston Housing Authority families every day. We're thrilled that he could make it. The congressman does have a flight to catch in a bit, so if you were planning to buttonhole him after the event, it's not going to work. But we are so glad, what's going on in Washington, it is very, very, very important to have his voice there, and we're so glad that he still managed to make it here to join us today.
Thank you so much, Kenzie. Thank you for all your great leadership as well. This has been a labor of love for me. As a kid who grew up here, it was a much different place, right, Phyllis? Yep. It was a challenge. I remember, I could tell you some stories, but I remember once my mom and dad had 6 of us, right? So it was myself and my 5 sisters. And I remember there were times when my dad used to say that there were times in my family when we had to save up to be poor. And thank God for Old Colony Projects to put a roof over our head. And I remember, every once in a while, my mom and dad would have trouble making the rent. And the manager at that time was Joe Murphy. Joe Murphy was he was a World War II veteran, and I thought he was a curmudgeon back in the day. But I remember my mother would bring my sisters and I, when there'd be a debate about the rent not being on time, we'd go down to the housing office, and the rent was $25, and we couldn't make the rent. That's how bad things were. But thank God we had a compassionate manager like Joe Murphy, and we got through it. And this place has been transformed in a way that even I couldn't imagine. My first meetings on this, I was the state senator. Joe Moakley was the congressman. Jimmy Kelly was our local city councilor. Mayor Menino was the first mayor on this. And we've had a succession of people in all those positions that kind of saw this through. And we've had a steady flow of including on the housing side. I think Sandy Enriquez was the administrator back when we first met, and we've had a wonderful succession of people paying it forward. So Mayor Menino, handed it off to Mayor Walsh, who handed it off to Mayor Wu, and all of them have done magnificent work to make this all a reality. So I just want to say how grateful I am that so many people have dedicated so much time and energy, up to the current delegation. We've got Ed Flynn, our city councilor district-wide. I see Erin Murphy back there, who's on many of our meetings. We've got Senator Collins and Representative Beal, who are the current office holders in that capacity and have continued to move that through. There's something about housing. It's such a core element of the American dream. And if we don't get this right, we don't get the American dream right. And whether you're paying rent and have an affordable apartment, or whether you're trying to get your first starter home and actually buy your first home, all that is wrapped up in the idea of the American dream. And lately, it's been harder and harder for families to make that rent, harder and harder for young couples to buy their first home. And we've got to redouble our efforts. And I know I am definitely speaking to the crowd here, because I see Sheila Dillon back there nodding her head, and she is a stone-cold champion of everything that I'm talking about. But I'm grateful to have colleagues in government like Mayor Wu who get it. And this has taken a long time in terms of us coming together and seeing the fruition here, these are so nice. I jog through here on occasion. I do the park, and then I cut through here. And I've had people actually pull me into their apartments, just delighted with, you got to see my apartment, So I climb over the railing from the outside and go in and do a tour. There was a young African-American veteran who had been homeless until he found a home here at Lynch Homes at Old Colony. And that moment for me brought it all home. Here was someone who had served his country, came back and bore the scars of war, invisible to most, but that kept him from a secure home. And with the help of everyone, we were able to solve that. So I want to thank everybody who came afterward and actually helped that all happen. Bill McGonigal was essential. It was key on this whole issue about patching all this money together. See all these companies, what Kenzie talked about, the first wave of big federal money, and then afterwards the state money and city money coming after that. And you need to have a recipe here with 1,000 ingredients to make something like this work. But this shows that we can get it done. The two things are, you have to stay at it, and you got to work together. I know sometimes there can be divisions in society, not just between Democrats and Republicans, but between communities and ideas. But America is at its best when we work together across the aisle. You know, I'm working right now with folks from red states like Nebraska and Oklahoma, Mississippi, that have serious housing problems. And I think they're receptive to a lot of what we're doing. This is an example. This is an example of what can happen. I mean, look at this. We got the park right across the street. When we're all done here, when we're all done, and I mean when we're all done, when we finish with the climate change and the storm surge barriers at Moakley Park, and I'm meeting on that next week, we all are. When we're all in, there's well over $450 million in investment in these homes and in this area. And it's creating a miracle. When you see the joy on people's faces. I was here in the bad days. When I used to come in here as a state rep, there was a lot of domestic violence, there was gun violence, there was a heavy drug use. It was unsafe. It was unsafe. And a lot of that was because people felt like they were forgotten. They felt like they were forgotten. They were in despair. Now you go through here, there's a much different vibe. People feel like they're being seen. They feel like they're being respected. And that has changed everything here, from the seniors who are here to the children who are here. It's a much different vibe, a much different environment, and we can thank everyone here who was involved in making that happen. So God bless the Lynch Homes at Old Colony and all our residents. Let's keep the prayers coming for our men and women in uniform that do so much for us. And God bless America for having the ideal and the commitment to make sure that we care for some of the most vulnerable people in our society. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you for those heartfelt words and for being one of the people in so many different elected offices who has pushed for this over so many years. In addition to our champions at the federal level, we're so grateful to have a mayor who's always thinking about BHA families, who, you know, anytime City Hall has an opportunity that could benefit residents of the city, they're calling up BHA and saying, can we include some of your families in this? Is there a way to have that impact? And the city has also stepped up in a huge way over the years to finance developments like this. And so without further ado, Mayor Michelle Wu.
Thank you, Kenzie. It's great to see everyone, and thank you so much to our residents for welcoming us here to celebrate with you all. It is a good day in the city of Boston when we're continuing to prove, no matter what else is happening in the rest of the world, we're getting things done here. People are coming together, government is working, community is strong, and most of all, we are following through on the promises that were made for the values of our country, and more importantly, for the values of the city of Boston. Thank you so much, Congressman, for all that you do for our community, for the many, many ways in which you're fighting for us that we see, and the many ways that we don't see. So the fact that these incredibly beautiful 887 units of housing, 887 families will get to live in a deeply rooted community connected to the legacy that you come from is something that we look to cherish for the city of Boston, and I want to thank each and every person who has had a hand in that. There are many partners. The thing about these ribbon cuttings is that also, no matter who's cutting whose ribbon, we're all going to say something about it before we cut it, and so I don't want to add too much to the length of the program. All I will say is ditto to the thank you to all the partners at every level. Thank you to all those who had an idea and for years refused to let it go, that families here should grow up with every amenity, every benefit, and access to every opportunity. That is what we want to try to do throughout all of Boston. And what I appreciate most about Administrator Bach's leadership and the many times we get to celebrate amazing things that the BHA is doing is that technically all the financing and this and that and the planning and the drawings are about buildings, the spaces that have to fit, and how do the dollars fit together with the pieces that need to be built. But really, she makes sure it's always about people. And so what I want to celebrate about this project is not only is it beautifully designed spaces and amenities, how this was done to center the families who are living in these homes and also the jobs that were created to build these homes. Shout out to all of our labor partners from every bit of the trades and AFL and all those who pitched in, not only the skilled workforce but also the funding. And this will leave a legacy for learning, for play, for beauty, for nature, all around. So thank you to everyone. And thank you especially to our city teams. You all don't get enough thanks for all the work that's happening, rolling with the punches, coming from all different levels. But to our cabinet members and to our staff at the city level and at the BHA, and to my partners on the city council, Councilor Ed Flynn and Councilor Aaron Murphy, and to all the councilors who couldn't be here, thank you for keeping us going. And I want to give one more special thank you to Ellen and the entire McGonigal family for carrying on this legacy and being here with us today, too.
Thank you, Mayor. Representing the Governor and the Secretary of Housing, I want to invite up now Danielle Basterach, who is the Undersecretary for Public Housing and Rental Assistance for the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, fondly known as EOHLC. We're just thrilled to have Danny here, and the state, as I said, has been a completely essential partner for every phase of this, and especially for the final third of it.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Healy-Driscoll Administration, Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, thank you so much for inviting us to this party today. This is awesome. We are so proud to be part of this redevelopment and appreciate all of the teamwork that has made this dream work. Throughout the lifespan of Old Colony, HLC has provided significant support. Over $41 million in federal and state low-income housing tax credits, which has then generated over $300 million in private equity for the multiple phases of the project, starting way back in Phase 1, continuing through the multiple phases with the various subparts right up until Phase 6 today. HLC has also provided over $16 million in various subsidies through the Affordable Housing Trust Funds, the American Rescue Plan Act, and the Community-Based Housing Funds. These strategic investments, combined with effective partnerships at the federal, the state, and the local level, provide a roadmap for the successful transformation and preservation for public housing. And in this climate, as we know, federal resources dwindling and policies changing, the Healy-Driscoll administration is committed to showing up, problem solving, and proactively addressing the public housing challenges that Massachusetts is facing. We all know today's celebration isn't simply about replacing old units with modern, safe, accessible, comfortable ones. It's a celebration of how redevelopment can have a direct positive impact on the quality of life for our residents and neighborhoods. Simply put, it's a celebration of what is possible for public housing. Congratulations to the BHA, the City of Boston, the union workers, the many funding and development partners, but most importantly, congratulations to the residents of the Ann M. Lynch Homes at Old Colony, who know better than anyone here how much it matters to be able to call a property a community and a house a home. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. And hand in hand with HLC, MassHousing works to finance. I mean, they're really one of the BHA's most essential partners, and they were essential here. So I want to invite up next Mark Teeton, Vice President of Multifamily Programs at MassHousing.
Thank you, Kenzie. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm pleased to represent the agency at this final milestone that began 20 years ago as an idea, a vision, and a concept. And we're here today to celebrate the completion of Phase 6. of the Old Colony development, the culmination of that vision. MassHousing is proud to have provided financing throughout this transformative project. And while the agency has been a dedicated partner from the beginning, my own journey with Old Colony began with Phase 3. So yes, I am indeed cutting somebody else's ribbon here, Kenzie. I've watched this community grow and evolve, and it's a privilege to stand here today celebrating its completion. An achievement of this scale is always the work of many parties, and I want to extend our deepest gratitude to the past participants, as others have mentioned, those who did the heavy lifting in the early days to set this huge undertaking in motion. Equally, I'd like to thank the current participants and specifically our financing colleagues at the BHA, HLC, Hudson Capital, and our behind-the-scenes finance partner, the AFL-CIO Housing Investment Trust. Thank you all for your continued partnership with MassHousing. I'd also like to specifically acknowledge the sponsors, Beacon Communities, with whom we have over 40 deals, some $800 million in total investment, and the Boston Housing Authority. You play many roles here, Kenzie. And with whom we share, as Kenzie mentioned, multiple programs. And my observation from my HFA colleagues around the country is that the relationship we have with you is relatively unique to other states in its variety, depth, cooperation, and effectiveness. So to both Beacon and the BHA, your leadership and unwavering commitment to the residents of South Boston have been the foundation of this entire development. While I stand here representing the agency, it is only through the efforts of a very capable and smart staff, many of whom are here today, that the work of the agency comes to life, and I'd like to thank them, Kathleen, Amanda, Teddy, Doug, and others. Thank you for your efforts. Lastly, and has been mentioned, and I had the privilege of meeting Phyllis just a few moments ago, I'd like to acknowledge and congratulate the residents who now call this entire development home. Your patience during this process, I'm sure, was tried, so thank you, and we are pleased for you today to celebrate your new homes. So thank you again to Beacon, the BHA, and our fellow lenders, the residents of Old Colony. We are delighted to have shared this work with you over many years and playing our role in helping to bring your vision into the reality we see before us today. Thank you.
And then to round out our state partners, I want to invite our state legislators for South Boston, Senator Nick Collins and Representative David Beal, to come up and speak with us as well. They've been critical partners all along the way. As mentioned, Congressman Lynch has held both these roles, and that tells you something about how important it is to all this work. So, Senator.
Thank you, and good afternoon. It's great to be here. A lot of special things have happened in this place around this project. And to think of the program that Bill McGonigal started with the building trades and Congressman Lynch that has delivered access to more people in Boston in the building trades happened right here at this project. I remember that 15, 16 years ago now. I want to thank Sheila Dillon, who was mentioned. She's been the constant behind this, and these projects can get off track when you have 6 different phases, multiple rounds of financing from private and public entities. It's not easy to complete this, so thank you, Sheila, seeing this through. To Councilor Flynn, Councilor Murphy for their advocacy as well for public housing tenants. To Governor Healy, when we created the Agency of Housing Livable Communities a number of years ago, knew it was a great idea, but made sure that we let the governor know we really wanted to see these projects here in Mary Ellen McCormick across the street get done. And another constant to this is not just the McGonigal family, but particularly Mark McGonigal, who's dedicated his public service career to making sure we get accessible housing, just like his dad. And was mentioned some of the great partners, the building trades unions, Greater Boston Building Trades, the partners in this project, Demio Construction, I see Pat O'Brien. To Phyllis and all the residents whose patience absolutely was tested, but the team here at Beacon who started this journey, Pam Goodman, Darcy, Dara, Howard, and the team at the Tierney Learning Center, that effort made sure that the community knew that the commitment was going to be there long term. And I do have to, I see my friend in the back, Joe Byrne from the Carpenters Union. Thank you, Joe, for your leadership on this project. And someone who I've been proud to work with for a decade. And I think in totality has brought from the legislature over $1 million over the last number of years to the Cheney Learning Center to make sure that place continues to operate at warp speed. And I'd like to invite up my colleague in House of Representatives and thank him for all his work, Representative David Beal.
Thank you, Senator. Good afternoon, everyone. We stand here today because of the work that was done foundationally 15 to 20 years ago. You know, I've been fortunate to be in the role I'm in and to pick up the ball and continue to move it forward, working with my colleagues in government, Congressman Lynch, who've been here from the start and seeing this through from rep to where you are now. And I'm just taking a moment to realize that we're here because of the tremendous work of people who were here in this room, maybe not in public-facing roles anymore, but MassHousing was mentioned earlier, and I know Mike Durain was here earlier, and he did a tremendous job when he was over at MassHousing making this happen. Thank you, Mike. And it's been a team effort. We've had federal funding to make this redevelopment possible. We've had city funding to make this redevelopment possible. And if you know, I've been staring at the screen this entire time, and anytime you can invest in affordable housing, invest in families, that's good policy. That's the right thing to do. The residents here remind us of that every day. Mark McGonigal, you know, every time we talk, it's about what can we do for public housing and for our public housing residents. They hold us accountable, make sure that we're doing the right things, and it's been an honor to continue to deliver resources working with Senator Collins, whether it's through bond authorizations to keep this going, directing ARPA funding for this project to make sure that we can be here today and make sure that everybody has a place that they love, can call home, and we can truly build community here. So congratulations to everybody who made this possible. God bless, and look forward to the next one.
Thank you, Representative. So I mentioned it earlier on, but one of the stories we wanted to make sure that got told today, because here, you know, really celebrating the whole 17 years, is not just the housing, but also the jobs. And in particular, you know, a lot of people in the city know at this point about Building Pathways, an incredible program which helps get, you know, folks from BHA developments and from underserved, you know, communities around the city into the building trades. Not everyone knows that that program came out of the BHA and the building trades partnership with this development specifically. And so we really wanted to give a graduate of that program and now a leader in the building trades, Shaitan Green, an opportunity to tell that story. So if you can welcome up Shaitan, he's the business agent at the Greater Boston Building Trades Union.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all. It's a beautiful day. My name is Shaitan Green. I'm the business agent with the Boston Building Trades Unions. We represent over 35,000 working people, men, women. We also represent tens of thousands of people who live and work right here in and around our community. It's an honor here today to be celebrating the completion of the Lynch Homes at Old Colony, a project that represents for more than just a new building. It represents a commitment to the people, to the families, and to the future of our community. As a representative of the Boston Building Trades and as a graduate, like Kenzie just mentioned, of Building Pathways Pre-Apprenticeship Program, this project is personal to me. The Old Colony helped demonstrate what is possible when we invest in housing, but in the people who build it. The success of this development helped give rise to Building Pathways, creating opportunities from families from every neighborhood to access good union careers and to build a better future for themselves as well as their families. For the past 15 years, thousands of union construction workers have put their skills, their pride, and their craftsmanship into transforming this community. Because this was a 100% union project by way of project labor agreement, residents received the highest standards of quality, safety, and training. While workers earn family-sustaining wages, they receive health care and retirement, security, and pathways directly into the middle class. Almost 15 years ago, I walked into the Tierney Learning Center just simply looking for a job. And what I left out with was a career, a skill, a chance to learn a trade that I've never heard of. Right now, I stand not only as a business agent, but as a licensed journeyman sprinkler fitter. Thank you. Thank you. But it seems like yesterday I walked into the Tyranny Center not even knowing what a sprinkler fitter was, what they made. But it was that experience that changed my life, that I believe every resident or every person who lives in the community seeking to look for jobs where they can live and work right where they're from and raise their family. I think the value, most people don't see the value, but the person putting in those hours to build these communities, to wake up early, to put on boots, to put on this construction hat that I've had, you see the benefits, when you come back home and you get to see that, you as well as your family are growing within the fabric in the neighborhood that you've seen as a child, and you now get the chance to give that back to your children as well too. So these homes that we celebrate today are more than housing. They are places where families can thrive, children can learn, seniors can age with dignity, and neighbors can build community. Equitable access to construction careers and affordable housing are deeply connected. When we create opportunities for working people to build the homes and communities needed, everyone benefits. Today we celebrate a remarkable achievement, but we also celebrate a vision that every person deserves, both a safe, affordable place to live and a fair opportunity to earn a living, building a stronger Boston. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Shaitan, for those incredible words and such an incredible story and example of leadership. We've been talking about many, many partners, and they're all important. But certainly, BHA's main partner here has been Beacon Communities. They are the folks who have been our development partner every step of the way here, dreaming from the master plan into reality. And so, many administrators before me have been partnered with Pam Goodman and now with Dara Covell leading this amazing partner of ours. But they have had one person who has actually been project managing this for them the entire way. And so, again, she's somebody who today is very much cutting her own ribbon. And we wanted to have her come up and speak on behalf. So I want to invite now Darcy Jameson, the Vice President of Development for Beacon Communities, to come up after just so many incredible years of making all these buildings happen.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's like an old homecoming party. On behalf of Beacon, I'd like to recognize Beacon's CEO, Dara Covell, and Josh Cohen, President of Development. I'd also like to recognize Beacon's former CEO, Pam Goodman, who launched this journey on behalf of Beacon and had no idea the journey that we were starting together. Many wonderful remarks and thanks have been shared today. And as Kenzie said, I've been working on this project for quite a few years, so I want to extend my deepest thanks to the residents, our public and private partners, the design and construction team, my countless Beacon colleagues, and Beacon Residential Management, just about every single department in the city of Boston and the Boston Housing Authority, for trusting us on this 17-year journey to help the Boston Housing Authority bring forth their master plan and bring the vision to life. As I said, I've had the privilege of being part of this effort from the beginning. And as many of you know, perhaps from the thousands of emails and calls we've shared over the past 17 years, this has been both a professional commitment and a personal one for many of us. We've worked together successfully, doing incredibly challenging work, becoming friends with each other and with many of the residents. 17 years is a long time. If you think about everything that's changed in your own lives over that period, it gives you a sense of what it takes to see a transformation like this all the way through. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the extraordinary number of people who made this possible. If you've worked on Old Colony in any capacity, a resident, a partner, a team member, across any phase, please stand or wave. Come on, everybody. If you just looked around, what you see is the patience, the trust, the expertise, the perseverance required to reimagine an entire community. New homes, new roads, infrastructure, improved connections and views, sustainable design, and at its heart, the Tierney Learning Center. To everyone who stayed committed to this work and to this community, thank you. Thanks to you, Old Colony has become a model for communities across the country to show how strong public-private partnerships can create and preserve affordable housing that strengthens neighborhoods and changes lives. Old Colony's redevelopment is a defining piece of Beacon's legacy that has touched every corner of our business. We're honored to celebrate this milestone with our dedicated partners and continue our work to support the community well into its bright future. Thank you from a very personal level to everyone here for your support as we navigated the last 17 years.
Okay. Can I get Joe Byrne from the Carpenters to come up this way? And can I get Michael to come up here? Michael from Spoke. And guys, this is a surprise element of the program that I'm splicing in. And then can I ask all of the McGonagals to come up here as well? All the McGonagals. That includes Mark and Katie. Just so you guys know, because I didn't shout her out earlier, Katie McGonigal is our chief of leased housing and admissions, in addition to being a member of the family. Okay, so in a minute we're going to have a performance by Spoke, which is an incredible arts organization here in South Boston that has worked with young people in South Boston and the wider city for so many years, decades and decades. 35 years. And I was actually introduced to them by Bill McGonigal, who was a huge believer in their work and had seen firsthand how much it mattered, just especially, tackling so many different public health crises that South Boston was living through, like really tackling it on a human level and saying, how do we connect and heal on a human level? And in our time, at the BHA, really started by Billy and then Kate Bennett, and then continued by me, we've really been partnering more and more closely with Spoke. And we were so thrilled that our partners at Beacon Communities also joined in that partnership and created a dedicated bespoke space for them here in one of these new buildings that we're cutting the ribbon on today. And to me, it's super, super meaningful that Spoke, in turn, decided to make that space in part a tribute to Bill McGonigal. And to call it the Bill McGonigal Living Museum of Boston Housing at Spoke here. And so... And I just think it's such a good living tribute to Billy. And really, I mean, the mayor said it about me, but it is just like times 100-fold true about Billy. He was one of the people of Boston Housing, and he knew that Boston Housing was about the people, and he was focused on that every single day and like their whole beings. And so, yes, you need a roof over your head, but you also need a place to nourish your soul and your spirit. And so Spoke has been doing some fundraising in support of this effort, the Bill McGonigal Living Museum of Boston Housing here at this site, which, by the way, you are all invited to go see it around the corner and just on the other side of this building after the program. And Joe Byrne of the Carpenters has an announcement that he'd like to share.
Thank you, everybody. I'll be brief. I just want to thank everybody for being here today. Thank Beacon, all of our city officials, City of Boston, BHA, and in particular the McGonigal family. They're like a part of my family, lifelong resident of South Boston. And it's an honor today to say that the Carpenters for Hope is going to donate $25,000 in Bill McGonigal's name for Spoke. Just really quick, I just want to say Bill McGonigal, I've been friends with the McGonigals for my entire life. And Bill, the best part about Bill was he was the most humble guy, always just looking out for people. And he had a great way about him. He knew how to get deals done, and he taught me a lot about how to deal with people. And at the end of the day, he was always willing to give somebody an extra break. And it's one thing that, I'm blessed to be the leader of the Carpenters Union today, and I'm able to, a lot of the way that Bill handled himself, I'd like to think that I handle myself in the very same way of putting my hand out and reaching out to lift people up. That's what today is all about, lifting people up, giving people places to live so that they can be productive members of society. So with that, very happy to be here, and thank you, everybody.
Okay, Joe told me that he had that surprise, and I was like, I've never gotten to tell somebody that they just got $25,000 for a project on the stage live before. So, we just really wanted to honor that special moment and just a representation of what a in-person thing this is. We are now going to have the program actually close out, like I said, with a performance from Spoke. And again, Spoke, in addition to the many things it does, it's actually our partner leading the BHA Youth Council, and has just been an amazing partner with our young people from all over the city. And so we're really looking forward to their performance today. All right. So everybody just hang tight for 1 second while this podium gets moved so that we can have a dance.
Homecoming. 30 years ago, I was at a wake at O'Brien's funeral home with the dad of 2 young people who worked with me, who lived here at Old Colony. It was Father's Day. My mother was hosting an event at her house that I would be late to. I thought to myself, if she says anything to me, I'll turn on my heel and leave. I got there, the door was locked. I knocked. She answered. She said, "You're late." I went to turn. She said, "It's okay. We waited for you. Welcome home."
Hi, my name is Teresa Manchin, and my dream came true. My memory was the day I moved into a colony on February 7th, 2014. My dream is to stay there forever.
With my grandmother, I remember skipping and singing Skip to My Lou around the kitchen. And I hope that we can find a way to be together again and enjoy some laughter.
Home. I remember almost about a decade ago, I said to my son, "Hey, do you want to take a ride with me? You want to go visit a friend?" He was like, "Sure, Mom." So we put up to this building, and I tapped the key. He's like, "Mom, how do you have the key to this building?" I'm like, "Well, my friend gave me the key so that way they don't have to come down." So we get up to the building, and I open the door, and he's looking at me, I'm looking at him. I'm like, "Come check out this room." So we walk over to the room, he looks at me again, and I'm looking at him, and I know he started to notice his belongings in the room, so I'm like, "Yes, this is home." So he started crying, and then I started crying, because it's been a journey for us both. I was just getting out of rehab. I was diagnosed with MS. I had to learn how to walk all over again, basic things. I had to learn to even speak all over again. We were staying at my mom at the time, and my lovely dad right here in the audience helped us a lot. So it was a blessing for us both to, finally have a place to call home. And my dream is to, continue to have somewhere to call, a place to call home, and keep on thriving, and just to be a part of the community.
I remember how close this neighborhood was, and my dream is to keep unity in this community.
Thank you so much to Spoke and all the participants for that moving performance. And these hands that are on the front of the stage are hands that our youth and our seniors together have engaged in intergenerational art and engagement with. So it's just it's such an incredible partner, like I said. This concludes our program. So I would invite you, if you haven't grabbed food in the back, if you have time and you can come and see. I think Spoke is open to come and be visited. Like I said, you sort of go left around the corner, and it's just on the other side of this building. But we just want to thank all of the many, many hands, speaking of hands, that have made these buildings, every phase, all along the way. And especially thank you to all of our residents, because it's you who make this place a home. Thanks.